Welcome to Data Vault Friday. My name is Michael Olschimke. I'm the CEO of Scalefree. We have the session here every Friday, 11 o'clock Central European Standard Time, to allow you, the audience, to ask questions about Data Vault, data mining, data-driven applications in any way, cloud computing, MVP stuff, and so on. You can use the chat here to raise a live question. You can use the Q&A function in the client. You can also raise your hand virtually. I don't see it if you do it in front of a camera. But if you raise it virtually, I can give you a voice, and then you can essentially ask your question live, which would also be okay. You can also use a form, which I show you afterwards, after today's session, a link to the form where you can submit your questions, and that allows me to prepare a simple slide, very simple stuff. If there's no questions at all, I would talk about the cluster. We typically get enough questions these days, but yeah, just shoot your questions, right? And yeah, by the way, Happy New Year. What happened to my beard? I went to the hair cutter and said, okay, let's fix the beard a bit, and they misunderstood it by removing it, and they removed it. So, but it will grow up again eventually. So it's maybe 1 or 2 weeks and it's gone. All right, so don't get confused by that. Let me show you today's question. Where is it? There you go. And this is about how to explain what Data Vault is to business users. Let's say you're starting a project, or you're pitching management, for example, pitching somebody on the business side to use a Data Vault. How do you explain to a non-data expert, to a business user, or maybe to some technical guy, what Data Vault is? And what I would say is the higher up you get, the less you want to use the term Data Vault, to be honest. So when we talk to management, or to higher ups, essentially, we don't use the term Data Vault at all. What we actually focus on is, I mean, think about this. When you build a house, right, you don't care how the house is built in detail. You trust the engineers, the architects, and so on, that they know what they're doing, and they build the house, and when it's done, it has all the windows you want. It's dry internally, right, and so on. So it can withstand the wind and so on, right? So that's the idea. How it's actually built, I mean, looks all reasonable to me, but I have no freaking idea, to be honest. And the same is true for anybody else. Most people, believe it or not, don't deal with data the way you deal with it. So you have to find better terms, more simpler terms, or more generic terms to explain what you're doing. I mean, try to explain to your kids. I tried once, failed. Try to explain to your kids what you're doing, right? Data Vault is not a term to them. That's the same is true for most other people, in all honesty. Now, so we don't use the term Data Vault, and we actually focus on the values. What do you get in return when starting this project with all your money, with all the budget? What do you get in return? You don't get a Data Vault. Well, you might, but who cares? What you get is a managed data platform where everything is secured, everything is where we can deal with privacy concerns, where we can delete or actually partially reduce consumer records, for example, where we can integrate data from different data sources, make it all available on this platform, secure, right? Where we can ingest all kinds of data, structured data, real-time data, semi-structured data, unstructured data, and so on. Data comes in batches, CDC, who cares? All kinds of data, internal data, external data. We can process all this data essentially on this platform. We can make it available to you, make it easily available to you, maybe as a star schema, dimension model, what they typically know when they went to the business school. I learned at Santa Clara how a star schema is being queried, what dimensions are, what facts are. So that's what you can assume, actually. Or most, at least people who went to a business school, MBA class, something, they know what a star schema is. So you can explain it on that level. So you get the star schema, you get the dimension model, you get dimensions facts essentially coming out of this platform, or you can also dig deeper if you want, but who cares? Not today, not in the first step. We have an article where we explain that, essentially explain Data Vault to the business users. We use the term Data Vault a bit because it was the first article in the series on Data Vault on Azure. Let me just show it to you. So the article essentially is the first article of the series that we wrote with Microsoft on the tech community, and you see the link here sfr.ee/dv-biz. That gets you directly to this first article, and there we focus on all these advantages of the data platform essentially. We just scroll down a bit, brief history. Here we go. Value of data, what to know. That's what we want to talk about. So auditable solutions, for example, when you want to prove all the data flows, how data gets processed by the platform. Everything is transparent, everything is clear and reproducible. You can audit everything essentially, right? Full data lineage on the attribute level. That's what we have. Yeah, we can prove essentially every information artifact, where the original data came from, how you process the data, and how do you come up with a metric essentially downstream. That's one advantage. Security, privacy, I talked about that already. Security, privacy, GDPR, okay. Agile delivery, right? That's another one. So we don't have to prepare a big bang here. We just deliver the solution step by step, sprint by sprint. Every 4 weeks, you see some results. Every 2 weeks, you can see some results if you want. So every 2 weeks, we give you some additional business value, some new report, some new KPI, something like that. But it's not that you have to wait for 2 years or something. We're talking about the next 6 weeks. Then you have the first results, essentially, at the very beginning of the sprint, right? Of the project. Then we can adapt to changes in the source system. So because the source systems in enterprise change all the time, we can adapt those or adjust the data model inside the data platform to these incoming data structure, changing data structures easily. That's same is true for the business logic. If you modify if your business changes, if you have to adjust the business logic, we can add modified business logic easily, even parallel to the old one. So you can compare the results based on a new business logic with the old business logic, right? Then, oh yeah, that's another big one. Multiple business timelines. That's also a big deal because they have a lot of hard time with dealing with multiple business or with business timelines, post-dating, backdating, building multi-temporal solutions. Here in Data Vault, we can, on this data platform, we can have multiple business timelines and you can apply them all in parallel, all at once, one by the other, doesn't matter, right? That's also a big one because people are not used to that and they struggle with this in legacy data warehousing, essentially. Multilingual platforms to translate a platform into different languages. It's also a big one for enterprise organizations. Some, not all the time, but multi-tenant solutions. Also, that's a big one. A multi-tenant solution where you can have data from multiple tenants, different source systems, all integrated into one multi-tenant data platform where you can essentially analyze either one tenant by itself or all data across all the tenants, one way or the other, or a subset of tenants and so on. Large data sets, so you can process any data volume at any speed. There's also a business value, right? Data variety, structures, and so on. So that's what we focus on. And that's maybe a good argumentation line here, how we argue what the data vault brings to the table if you want to build a data platform. And that's how you argue when you sell a data vault. Don't use the term data vault, argue with the values. What's the outcome? How does the house look like? How many windows do you have? How does the roof looks like? Is it rain resistant and so on, right? That's more important for me as a house owner. And that's what we're building here as well. We're building a house, right? So tell them what's the value out of it. How do you build this? They don't care. They look at the values that comes out of it, right? So data vault is just a tool how you build the house. That's it. All right. So that's the answer here. Okay. Yeah, check out the article. One more thing. When you check the article, at the very end, there's a link here to the blog series title page. And that page gives you access to all the published articles yet. So there's 11 articles out there. And I believe it should be 14 in the end. So there's 3 articles missing, which are in the works. I believe we have 12 already. I have to double check that actually. But they're all coming essentially. It's essentially an update to the book. Building a data vault, a data warehouse with data to know, building a scalable data warehouse with data to know, sorry. And that's an update to the book, how to do this on Azure, essentially. That's the basic idea. So the modeling, the implementation, and so on. So there's 3 more articles coming, I believe. And it's still in the works, but it's what it is. All right. So good read, hopefully. All right. So if you have a question like this, use the form behind this link here, sfr.ee/dvfriday. That's where you can submit questions. please do it, because we start running out of questions, and I might have to show stuff in the class which I haven't done anything, and even over Christmas. And we received a couple of questions on DBT, which is fine. I forward them to the team working on the webinar for DBT and Warescape. And those webinars you find behind this link here, scalefree.to/webinars. That we can sign up for other webinars on tools, essentially. DBT, Warescape are two of the webinars we have at the moment. And if you can't wait until next Friday, again, this session is every Friday, sign up for the Data Innovators Exchange. That's a forum-style community where you can ask questions all the time and they get answered relatively quickly, because there's some competition with Ignition Data in Australia and Scalefree in Europe. We compete a bit on who's answering the questions the fastest, essentially. So you should get a quick answer, essentially, quick response to the questions. So sign up here, it's free. And it's, again, it's a community where you can ask questions, download materials, white papers, recordings, and so on. All right, cool. Thanks for joining. We get snow here in Germany, so well, let's see how the weekend will become. I should have kept my beard. It's a bit warmer, but it will grow, so it's all good. Okay, cool. Thanks for joining again. See you next Friday, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.